Okay, so this game that we're gonna look at was a correspondence game. I had the black pieces, and the opening was a Queen's Indian defense. So the game started with knight f3, knight f6, c4, maybe trying to go into a symmetrical English, but I went b6, and after d4, e6, a3, which is not a move I'm very familiar with. So I just continue my development. And after knight c3, just d5, e3, just developing my pieces normally. And after bishop d3, I took on c4, because that way the bishop has to waste another tempo to recapture the pawn. So it's just a small improvement. Here I played c6, which is a novelty according to my database. It's not a very good move. The point is, well, if I played bishop d6 immediately, then after knight b5, I have to retreat the bishop and then try to kick the knight out with a6. So I probably would have played maybe bishop e7 instead, although this is a little bit more passive. And after c6, my opponent played this move, queen c2, which I found very strange because I think he is just inviting me to play rook c8, which is what I did to put pressure along the semi-open file. Because, well, I mean, it's always good to line up your rook against your opponent's queen, because, well, you could maybe win a queen. And here my opponent played e4, which is the best move according to the engine, but I probably would have castled just because you've already played e3 and now you're wasting another tempo to push the pawn again when you could have done so with just one move. Here I played bishop e7, although there is this computer line which is b5, and then it just gets crazy. I'll show just one sample line because there are many variations. So knight takes, pawn takes, queen a4, a6, knight takes, and here, I mean, you can see that black is slightly better, but if you let the engine run a little bit deeper, then it starts to like black's position even more. So after bishop e7, the queen moved again, and I castled. Now, the reason I castled was because I knew that potentially the position is gonna open up sooner rather than later, and I didn't want my king stuck in the center of the board. But tactically, apparently, black is okay. The engine says that c5 is fine, and after the pawn push, you can just trade and castles, with the idea that, well, there is a threat to play rook e8, and there is this annoying attack on the queen again, or potential attack. So after castling, my opponent played bishop b3, which allows, well, c5. And here I think you have to play d5. You cannot capture on c5. I think this is probably maybe not the decisive mistake my opponent made, but it's pretty close. I mean, look at the engine evaluation. It's given -4. So my knight is good, my bishop is good on b7. I'm attacking white's bishop. The black king hasn't castled. And from here I just have a lot of initiative. I really like the next move that I played, bishop a6. because I'm attacking the queen, but more importantly, after the queen moves, because I have control of this diagonal, that king is not gonna be able to castle, and it's gonna come under attack pretty soon. So my opponent played queen e3, and here check because I wanted to get the pair of bishops. I don't think white can allow the knight to stay on the board. I think he has to take it with the bishop. But much better was actually to play bishop d3. And at first, when I looked at it with the engine, I didn't understand why this was better. But the point is that after the recapture, you go knight g4 first. And after the queen moves, now you take the bishop with check, forcing the king up the board. And then you trade queens, and you take the pawn. And after rook f1, I mean, this is a very complicated position. So, yes, maybe this is a lot better for black, but from a practical standpoint, I don't think it's that easy to play with black. So, even if I had seen these moves, I don't think I would have gone for it. So I checked, my opponent took. Here I took, and I thought my opponent was going to take the queen, because with the queens off the board, even though he still can't castle, I don't think he's in as much danger. It would be very difficult for me to checkmate him in the middle of the board once the queens are gone. So I was very surprised when he played this move. 95. I think he's trying to get a little too fancy. So I played queen c2, which is also a pretty nice move. And here I already started thinking about sacrificing the exchange. So he went queen to d2. And here rook takes e3, takes, check, queen blocks. It's a very nice variation, and I almost went for it, but then I realized that there's this move. Without queen f3, then this is just probably crushing white, but this move just holds everything together. So I went queen b3, and here my opponent went back to d1. So you can see how he wasted moves, first with the bishop and then with the queen to c2, and then moving it again to e3, and I mean it's just back to d2 to d1. So here the exchange sacrifice actually works. I think this is a really nice move. Obviously you can't take the queen, because then I'm just up a rook. So after this check, you have to block with the bishop, and I get the knight. And here my opponent just blundered. Just another rook, and he resigned because there's nothing here. The best move was bishop e3, but I mean this is still pretty hopeless. I mean, look at the evaluation. The pawn is hanging. He can't castle because of the bishop along this diagonal. So, yeah. Oh, and my opponent was rated over 2,000, so he was definitely not a weak player. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.